Hello all, welcome to my channel Cloud on YouTube. In my last video, we discussed on how to create users, groups and policies with the hands-on lab. In this video, we are going to break down AWS IAM components in plain language. As you can see on the screen, these are the main components of AWS IAM. An IAM user is like an individual account for a person or an application that interacts with AWS services. So each user has unique security credentials such as username and password and permission assigned to it. As you can see on the screen, if you have a team of developers working on an AWS project, you can create individual IAM users for each developer to access AWS resources securely. So each user gets their own set of permission and access is attached to their user ID directly. Now coming to the IAM groups. An IAM group is a collection of IAM users. It's a way to manage permissions collectively for a set of users rather than assigning permissions individually to each user. As you can see on the screen, you might have a developers group in your AWS account. Instead of assigning permissions to each developer separately, you can add all the developers to this particular developer group and assign permissions to the group. This simplifies permission management. Now, what is a policy? An IAM policy is a document basically that defines the permissions. They specify what actions are allowed or denied on AWS resources for users, groups, or roles. You can create a policy that allows read-only access to bucket, and that policy can be attached to a user, group, or role to provide them the specified permissions or to grant them the specified permissions. As you can see on the screen, we have attached the policy to individual users and as well as we attach the policy to a group of users. And this policy is a document which defines permissions. Now we are going to take a look at IAM role. IAM roles are similar to users, but they are meant for granting permission to entities that are not actual users. Roles are typically assumed by the services, applications, or AWS resources or users. As you can see on the screen, for example, if you have an application running on EC2 instance, but that needs to access an S3 bucket, instead of storing access key or credentials on the instance, you can create an IAM role with the necessary permissions and attach it to the instance. This way, the application running on this instance can assume the role and securely access S3 without exposing any access keys. In summary, IAM in AWS is all about managing who can do what in your AWS environment. Users, groups, policies, and roles work together to ensure and control access to AWS resources. Users are individual accounts, groups are collection of users, and policies define permissions, and roles are used for granting permissions to entities like applications or AWS services, as you can see on the screen. And this is all for this session, and thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe my channel Cloud on YouTube, and thanks for supporting.